Hey, what's up, YouTube? Thanks for tuning in. This is Coach Max with Bounty Hunter Basketball. And today I'm going to show you how to keep a basketball scoring book. If you are a basketball parent like I am, it is just a matter of time before your son or daughter's coach approaches you before a game and says, "Hey, can you help us out?" Well, by the end of this video, you will be able to confidently rise to the occasion and help your kids' team out. Now, it's important to note that every basketball scoring book is going to be slightly different in terms of layout and the information that it's going to allow you to record. So if the scoring book that you are using happens to be different than this one in forms of layout, do not panic because once you've figured one out, you can tackle any one of them. So let's get to it. Now, first things first, when you open up the book, understand that you are going to be recording information on both sides. The left side is going to be for the team that you represent, and the right side is going to be for the opposing team. For the sake of this video, we're just going to concentrate on the left side because the information that you're going to record is going to be the same on both, so there's no sense of being redundant. Now, before the game even starts, there's a couple of areas that are going to have to be pre-populated, and that's these two areas here. Let's take a closer look at the upper left-hand corner. Now, this part is pretty self-explanatory, right? You just fill in the blanks, and you'll do the same on the right side of the book for the opposing team. This area here is where you're going to enter your team's roster. Now, there's a couple of different ways you can do this. You can list them alphabetically, you can do it numerically by jersey number, or you can group them by position. I prefer to group them by position. And because your starting five is obviously going to be playing in the first quarter, in the quarters played column, you would just put a hash on the number one for each one of those players. And then you would put their jersey number to the right of each of their names. Once the game begins, you'll have to locate the section that says possessions and put a hash mark to indicate which team won the tip-off. So, Bounty Hunters get the tip-off. Iverson breaks to the basket for the easy layup. Now, when it comes to points, points are recorded in two separate sections. There is the team's overall score, which is recorded in the running score section, and then there's the individual players' points that are recorded here. So after the made layup, you would put a hash on the number 2 in the running score section. Now, when it comes to recording the individual players' points, this is where format may vary from book to book, because in this particular book, individual scoring is broken into 3 categories. The first line is for 2-point attempts, the middle line is for 3-point attempts, and the third line is for free throws. But in this instance, you would go to the top line in the first quarter in Iverson's row and put an X. An X indicates a made field goal, and a hash mark would represent a missed field goal. Next possession, Bryant nails the pull-up 3, so then you'd put a hash on the number 5 in running score, and then go down to the middle line in Bryant's row and put an X there, indicating the made 3-pointer. And of course, when the other team scores, you'll be recording their data in the same fashion on the right side of the book. But they haven't scored yet, and James just hit Johnson in the middle of the lane for a little jump hook. So you go to our running score, put a slash on 7, and then you go to the top row in Johnson's line and put an X there. But don't forget to give James credit for the assist by putting a little hash mark in his row in the assist column. Now the defense is frustrated. They're still not on the board. Johnson is feeding Jabbar in the post, and they're just hacking him, sending him to the line for 2. Now, when it comes to recording free throws, that's done a little bit differently. Instead of X's and slashes, we have open circles for missed free throws, and we have filled in circles for made free throws. Jabbar misses the first, makes the second, and we will add 1 more to our running total, making it 8. Speaking of fouls, that's another statistic that's going to be recorded in 2 separate areas. The individual who received the foul is going to receive a hash mark in their row under the foul section, and in the team fouls section will be the sum of all individual fouls for each quarter. Another area of interest, team rebounds and turnovers. If these are statistics that your organization likes to track. For rebounds, you would simply write the jersey number of the player who got the rebound when they got it. And for turnovers, you would just put a hash mark every time that team turns over the ball. Whenever there's a jump ball, you'll want to go to the possession section and toggle back and forth between your team and the opponent's. Because when there's a jump ball, the refs will be looking at the scorer's table to determine whose turn it is to inbound the ball. The timeout section, well, I think that's self explanatory. But once the game is over, it is time to calculate the player totals. Now, whenever you see a box cut in half by a diagonal line, the top half of that box is always going to be the total made, and the bottom half of that box is always going to be total attempts, making the calculation for the percentage fairly easy. You have free throws made, free throws attempted, and field goals made would be the sum of these two numbers, and field goals attempted would be the sum of these two numbers. Then you'll add up your assists, your rebounds, and total points for the individual players. By the end of the game, you should have a running score section that looks something like this, with the end of the quarter or half indicated with a marking like this, and the final score would be circled. And last but certainly not least, the game totals section will be the sum of all of the individual players' columns. And be sure that you're paying attention to those make columns, because those are not points. That is the number of times the ball went in the basket. Two different numbers. So your math could end up way wrong unless you catch that. And there you have it, parents. You now know how to keep a basketball scorebook. I hope you found this information helpful. If you did, please hit the like button and please consider subscribing if you'd like to support Bounty Hunter Basketball. And until next time, see ya.